Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great week out there so far. Here to bring you the latest information that we got on what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Thursday. But of course, we will start this video off by giving you updated info on what's going on out there in the Atlantic. We'll talk about current conditions in the Atlantic. We'll go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and then we'll go over all the overnight into this morning's model guidance that we have. And I will tell you, there's been some changes, and we'll talk about those changes here in the next several minutes. After we get done doing that, we will give you some new information about this cool down on the way. It's already been a pretty nice week for a good portion of the central to especially the eastern U.S., but a reinforcing shot of cool air is on the way for this weekend into early next week, and we'll talk about how low maybe your specific area could get temperature wise and all of that good stuff. If you're a fall weather fan, you'll enjoy that portion of the video if you live in the central to especially the eastern U.S. After we get done doing that, we'll discuss what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48, and of course, timestamps will be up throughout the entire video for you folks to take advantage of, to utilize, so definitely do that. So with all that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. We are praying over everybody affected by the shootings in Georgia. Of course, I think some people almost get annoyed when people, tweet or post out thoughts and prayers to all the victims. And I understand where they're coming from. And this is all that I'll say with that, guys. And, I always keep things personal on this channel. Some people like that. Some people might not. But, that's just the way we do on this channel. If there's something that you can do, a God-given talent, God's placed something in front of you where you have an opportunity to help, I would do so. And for me personally, and this isn't blowing smoke up my rear end, but, with a couple school shootings that happened a few years ago, I felt inspired and called almost to be a mentor to a kid here at our local elementary school. And I've done it for the last 3 years. And, it's a way to be there for the kids that, might go home to maybe a rough environment. They don't really have a father or a mother figure in their life. And in my opinion, I think this is where all this stuff starts and originates. So if there's something you can do, volunteer, especially with the kids, and not just kids, these teenagers and young adults, just be a positive factor and mentor in these kids' life. I'm very, it hurts my heart every time it happens. It's not something that leaves my mind the next day. It's just, if there's something you can do, then do it. There's a saying that says prayer without works is, pretty much pointless. So if there's something you can do, do it. That would be my challenge, and that's my challenge to myself. That's my challenge to anybody out there. I'm not saying don't pray. We should always pray. Prayer is powerful, but if you can do something, I would do it. So with all that being said, if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put those in the comments below. I think I already said that, but let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So we're going to circle a couple features out here on the map. Let's make sure this is working for us. And it is. I don't like the blue color. We'll have to, even though blue is my favorite color, let's use yellow right here. So I'm going to circle a couple areas. And one person from, a viewer from Canada said, what about this low pressure heading towards our way? And I'll be honest with you, I had to look into this yesterday and realize, hey, there's a non-tropical low out here in the northern sections of the Atlantic. And this is it right here. We got to watch this. It could gain some subtropical characteristics as it makes its way north. And we are expecting this kind of area of disturbed weather to maybe get its act together and, look pretty. It could pack a bit of a punch up here in Nova Scotia, just Atlantic Canada. But guys, when I say pack a punch, and I shouldn't use those words, it just is going to be kind of almost like a weaker nor'easter, I think. But I'm going to continue to watch this over the next day or so, and I'm not going to have anything zoomed in for you guys on this video. But if we get into tomorrow and this looks like it could be something much more significant, I got you covered. But we will show some model output for you guys on how this kind of goes right into Nova Scotia, affects Newfoundland. But we're expecting this to continue to move this way and move in like that. So we will continue to watch that. Of course, we are still watching our wave down here. It's now entering the Western Caribbean. Still has a chance to develop, but chances have dropped. And even though it's not dubbed an area of interest, I am still watching really any moisture. I'm just going to draw a big circle here in the Gulf of Mexico. Something could get going, but the chances are very, very low. We are watching this also. This has a chance to develop just an area of unsettled weather out here in the tropical Atlantic. And we are just watching this area in general. There's nothing there now, but the National Hurricane Center says, hey, some energy that's coming off Africa could develop. And this is the area out here, the last circle I drew, that I want to watch over the next couple days and model guide. So there's a lot of little features out there. You think, wow, hurricane season's looking pretty active right now, but all these little areas have a pretty low shot to develop. In fact, we jumped to the latest information that we have from the National Hurricane Center. This last circle I drew, 20% chance of something developing over the next 7 days. And when I say developing, I mean developing into a depression or a named storm. And we'll have to continue to watch that. And then that this area right here, I know it's all can get kind of confusing, but this area right here, which is right here, has a 10% chance to develop sometime in the next 7 days. Very, very low. And there's our non-tropical area of low pressure, a few hundred miles east of North Carolina. Has a chance to develop. We'll have to watch to see if it gains some tropical characteristics. But 20% chance to develop, not really in the next 7 days, but in the next few days, I would say. And then we're still watching, you see this yellow X down here. That is our tropical wave we've been watching for the last several days that, once upon a time showed some very concerning model runs, but over the last several days has not. So that's the good news, but still has a 30% chance to develop maybe in the Bay of Campeche sometime in the next 7 days. But none of this has a high chance at all, or even a moderate chance to develop really at all. So let's look at the latest Euro. And we're going to take a broad look, and it's going to be kind of hard to see on your screen. There's not really a really great way to zoom in, but I might kind of zoom in on a couple areas on the fly. So we'll start off this morning. First off, you'll notice there's that low pressure right here. And, this will try to develop, become maybe a sub 1,000 millibar non-tropical low, and it will eventually move into Nova Scotia. There it is right here. I know it might be a little difficult to see, but this weekend, sometime Saturday, this could go right into Nova Scotia, bring some gusty winds, maybe some heavy rainfall. Is this going to be like equivalent to like a hurricane that eventually goes subtropical? I don't think so, but we're going to continue to watch it for you folks up in Nova Scotia and Atlantic Canada. After that moves into Atlantic Canada, we just got to watch any kind of feature, I would say, in this area right here. Okay, could have energy that originates right here, kind of heads this way. This is going to create a heavy rain situation across areas of the southern Gulf states, Florida, the southeast. But you certainly want to watch like this feature right here. Low pressure could get going off the coast of North Carolina. Maybe, as we are getting into Saturday afternoon, it's possible, but chances are pretty low of that. And we continue to move forward after that. What happens after we get into early next week? Well, there's not a whole lot going on. You still got a ton of moisture trapped here in the Gulf of Mexico. It's crazy. If this does extend into next week, I think that'll be 2 weeks straight that we've had a lot of moisture sort of trapped into the northwest Gulf of Mexico. But you keep on going here, and this is when you begin to watch this area out here. You start to get L's that start showing up on your screen. As anything consolidate, come together here, and we keep this in motion. It wants to latch on to this one. I would also watch closer to home. Okay, so there's a couple things going on. Your eyes are probably going two different directions, but you got to watch this little feature here. I'd watch this feature here. I'd watch this little blob of green here. A lot of little features ongoing. Does anything get going though? You keep this going. Your Euro pops off a low pressure off the coast of the southeast about 8 to 9 days from now. We get all the way into the morning of September the 14th. It does eventually get a tropical storm going well off the coast of the southeast, but it's heading in the opposite direction as land, so that would be good. You would want to watch Bermuda though. But this is all this is all 9 to 10 days out, and the tropical Atlantic looks dead. Now the GFS. Okay, the GFS has showed some changes, I would say, and we're about to talk about what I mean here. But there's that low developing, off the coast of the northeast and, plowing right into Nova Scotia. Hopefully it does not pack much of a punch. All right, so what happens after we get into Sunday, Monday next week? You start to watch out here, just like on the Euro. You see this feature right here, this little weak low. You keep this going. Does it develop into something? And and it really doesn't. And the latest run doesn't really show anything. Now, you back up the run prior to this, it has a strengthening tropical system out here in the western Atlantic. Okay, the one prior to that had a hurricane. So we go to the current run. It does want to try to develop something in the Gulf of Mexico right here and something off the coast of the eastern U.S. But this is as far out as we can go right here. Now, if you look at the run from last night and the run prior to last night from yesterday evening, it had a major hurricane forming past the 10-day mark, traveling across the Atlantic all the way into the southwest Atlantic and getting awfully close to the Bahamas. And, shows a very, very strong hurricane as we were getting around the third week of September in the southwest Atlantic. Same kind of area that Ernesto was in, but the latest GFS drops that. In fact, the latest GFS, has actually went down with any kind of tropical activity. So that's the latest information we have on model info. Any kind of threat, no. But this is the latest icon model I would show too. I forgot I had this up here. Does show that low going right into Nova Scotia this weekend. And we go all the way out to 120 hours out. And it does show multiple weak tropical waves out here in the Atlantic. You would think, okay, this is about to get super active, but do these tropical waves survive? Not sure. Continues to show some sort of low in the western Gulf of Mexico too. So, any immediate threats? Absolutely not. And this is the European ensemble, makes up 51 members through the next week. Shows a little bit of a signal for something getting going here in the western Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche. A little bit of a weak signal getting going in the southwest Atlantic. And then we do have a pretty strong signal for a wave emerging off Africa. But, there's no threat within the next week. And there's no point in taking it out 10 days. I've already looked at it. It doesn't show really much of anything. So we'll continue to watch that. I think today will be an interesting day of checking out the models with the tropics, as we did have some changes yesterday evening into the overnight hours. So I wish I had some water over here, but I do not. But we're going to muscle through this. Latest on the cool down. So we'll start off tomorrow morning, still dealing with a little bit of cold air damming, a little bit of cool air still trapped east of the Alps here in the eastern U.S., creating some nice mornings. It's about 66, 67 at my house now, which is nice, a couple degrees below average for this time of the year. But you see this warming in between the leftover cooler air from the last cool down and then the next cool shot of air right into here. You see this kind of warming area. This is kind of in between two different air masses. So we will get a warm day probably today into tomorrow for this area. But don't worry, if you don't like September heat, glory is coming for you as we're getting into Friday. Now you notice down here, you're thinking, oh man, the deep south is cold. You're 10 to 13, 14 degrees below average. Remember, your average highs down here are still in the 80s. So a lot of this is due to cloud cover, rain. It's just keeping your temperatures cooler down here in the deep south states. Now, this cool air mass up here is associated with drier air. This cool air mass down here is associated with more moist air, just cloud cover, rain. Like I said, keeping the temperatures down, but still very sticky, muggy, and humid. Now you keep on going here, we get into Saturday. This is when that air mass will really get going. And, this is, around Saturday afternoon, evening time frame. And you got temperatures that are 15 to 20 degrees below average in this entire area. So if you're, sitting back watching some college football in this area, it is going to legitimately be a chill in the air out here for your Saturday evening. I mean, you might need a light coat depending on where you live, especially in the upper sections of the country, up here in Ontario for sure. But this air mass, doesn't, I would say the coolest portion of the air mass doesn't fully penetrate the southeast, but it still bleeds over the mountains. Therefore, you get this kind of air mass with some longevity to it, and it kind of keeps temperatures cool for a while as you continue to get this troughing overhead. So, you get into this weekend, you get into early next week, below average temperatures hang around. Now you start to get back to above average temperatures in the northern section of the country, but you hang on to below average temperatures in the deep south, the southeast, because of just cloud cover and a lot of moisture, I would say. This is more so driven off of But, above average temperatures do look to kind of make a return, unfortunately. So enjoy this nice air the rest of this week into next week while you can, because it's just not going to stick around. But the National Weather Service forecast low temperatures starting off tomorrow morning will kind of center it over this area right here, which is where the core of the coolest air mass is going to be. Tomorrow morning, you already will start to feel the effects of this cooler air moving in. 40s, 50s for lows up here in the upper Midwest. There's that moderation of temperatures ahead of the next cool down. So, Indianapolis up to Detroit, you're thinking, man, it is a warm morning. Don't worry. You get into Saturday morning, you already will feel a substantial difference. For example, Indianapolis, 65 degrees for a low tomorrow morning. Saturday morning, 50 degrees. Okay, that's a good, 15 degrees lower. And look at these low temperatures up here in Wisconsin, Minnesota, the UP and Michigan, 40s, 30s. Still has not made it to the south yet, but watch this. We go into Sunday morning. Look at those lows all the way into the 50s, deep down in Mississippi, all the way to Birmingham, all the way to Louisiana, Arkansas, even some comfortable air into the Dallas area, the eastern half of Oklahoma. Kentucky, just everybody in the 40s, even Tennessee, 40s and 50s. Has not quite penetrated into the areas east of the Alps yet, but as we are getting into Monday morning, you start to get widespread 50s across the Carolinas, even into North Georgia. And the cool air sticks around across areas of the Ohio Valley, and then it moderates a little bit into Tuesday, and then we get into Wednesday. But the cool air sticks around for a lot of these areas in the Mid-Atlantic, so nice to see this, but we do go up to New England. I do not want to leave you guys hanging. And Friday, tomorrow morning, you're still getting the leftovers of the air mass with the trough that's progressing eastward, so still cool. It'll moderate into Saturday. Then Sunday, the cool down will hit you guys, will cool you guys down here. These are low temperatures Sunday morning, 40s, 50s, inland along the coastal regions, 50s and 60s. And then we get into Monday morning, and look how chilly these temperatures are. This will definitely get those leaves to start to at least get into the beginning stages of changing in this area. And, some chilly mornings early next week into the midway next week for the Northeast for sure. It's just getting to that time of the year. So, all right, let's talk about what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your day. Getting a little bit of glitching up here, but we got a lot of rain shower activity moving across the upper Midwest. Still moving through Minnesota into the northern areas of Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan. And then we got the other push of moisture for the south as tropical moisture continues to push into the deep south. It's raining pretty good, especially just off the Louisiana and Texas coastline. But we got some showers that could be hitting the ground as far north and northeast as areas of the Carolinas. Got some moisture kind of stuck here off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina and northeast Florida also. Some moisture is pushing through the eastern half of Colorado too, but outside of that, that's all what's going on. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Pivotal weather still acting up, so we have to look at this more, I would say less appealing version of the watches and warnings, but the orange is the orange is heat advisories up here in the Pacific Northwest, excessive heat warnings. For areas of like the Valley of Oregon and Washington, Valley of California, very hot, excessive heat warnings down here into the Southwest too. So big time heat. We got heat advisories for South Florida, Southwest Florida. Man, I heard about all the rain you guys got around the Tampa Bay area yesterday. You remember I've kind of been mentioning, I've been kind of surprised they have not at least put marginal risk in Florida with this type of pattern in place. It's honestly been shocking, in my opinion. But anyways, flood watches up for southern Louisiana. They continue. Flood watches up for extreme southern sections of Mississippi and the coastal areas of Texas also. So the excessive rainfall outlook, they do got a marginal risk up for areas of Florida today. I would argue you need a slight risk some days, but hey, a moderate risk in the red for southeast Louisiana includes Baton Rouge, down to New Orleans, Thibodaux, Houma, all these areas, a moderate risk in place. Around the moderate risk, you got that yellow, a slight risk. The moderate means you got at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. The slight is a 15% risk of that same criteria. So tropical rains are starting to really saturate these soils. So it's getting to the point where, it needs to stop raining down here for a little bit. But the Storm Prediction Center, no real widespread severe weather expected today. We're going to have to watch around Santa Fe, maybe just, I would say, east of the Albuquerque area, for maybe some of these storms hitting severe limits. But outside of that, just if you live in the light green color, just a general risk of thunderstorms. So looking at the southeast today, widespread tropical rains everywhere. We take it to about midday. A lot of moisture just off the Gulf shoreline, but a lot of it has pushed inland too. We got just some more so light rain across Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. We got storm action in southeast Georgia, maybe northeast Florida, that could become a lot more widespread as we get into this afternoon. Look at all this activity right into here. And, I think as we start to get into the overnight hours, some of this heavy rain will push into southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi. We'll continue just to get on and off downpours in southeast Georgia. Some of this will ooze into the low country of South Carolina. And then by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, listen, the HERM model still wants this thing to get into a tropical storm in the northwest Gulf of Mexico. You see this little spin on going right down here, something to watch. But I think we're going to wake up tomorrow morning. If you like a nice, cloudy, kind of early fall-like day, I think tomorrow might be your day if you live in Georgia and the Carolinas, especially South Carolina. It's not going to be that chilly, but just cloudy, drizzly, if that's even a word, light rain expected for sure. Definitely going to be kind of a cloudy, rainy Friday for a lot of areas. But rainfall for Florida, I do want to focus in because you guys have had some flooding concerns down here. It looks like the heaviest rain will be in North Florida, Northeast Florida especially. 1 to 2 inches of rain is possible in these areas. Southeast Georgia, especially just along the coastal areas from Jacksonville up to Tybee Island. 2.5 inches of rain is possible. And we could get some heavy rain, especially if you live along the immediate coastline of the Gulf Coast. So the Northeast, pretty quiet weather today. Nice day expected getting into this afternoon, this evening, the overnight hours. There's that low we need to watch here. We get all the way to tomorrow morning. Folks, there ain't really anything going on. I think you get about 15, 20 seconds of fame. Now, there is a system moving in with this cold front progressing into the area. But today, pretty nice. Down here in the south central U.S., here continuing to get this push of tropical moisture into Louisiana and the Texas coastline. Heavy rain, like I said, same thing with Texas as all the other states to your east, really confined to the coastline. So we will get some showers, even some heavy rain showers all the way inland, all the way maybe up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but definitely not widespread. And we'll start to get a little bit of energy kind of surging down from a boundary, moving down across the plains. And I do want to watch this energy that moves out of Colorado this afternoon into New Mexico from the north. And some of these storms in this area could, Santa Fe, Albuquerque, surrounding areas could hit severe limits. This is mainly going to be for the eastern section of New Mexico. But definitely continue to get a solid push of moisture all the way into tomorrow morning. And we'll do it all again tomorrow morning also. Tomorrow during the day is what I meant. But a closer look at Louisiana and surrounding states. Here it is. Look at this big band of tropical moisture. I mean, we're going to get some storms with this too. Some embedded thunder, lightning as possible with this. So look at this huge downpour moving right into the Louisiana coastline, to the swamp area, the bayou of Louisiana. It's crazy how the rain is really just hugging along the Texas coastline. But this will move inland and bring a lot of heavy rain this afternoon to this evening into the southern half of Louisiana and Mississippi. This will continue all the way into tomorrow morning, and we're going to do it all again tomorrow morning. In fact, a lot of this moisture this heavy moisture pushes inland. So by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, another flooding scenario could unfold for southeast Louisiana. I would especially watch out for tomorrow. But rainfall between now and the next just 24 hours. Southern half of Louisiana, the extreme southern sections of Mississippi, and then the northeast coastline of Texas, anywhere from 1 to as much as 4 inches of rain, depending on where you live. And if we extend this out another 24 hours, it really adds up. I mean, it wants to bring almost 5 inches of rain to Galveston. Galveston, I always struggle with that word. New Orleans, 5 inches of rain is possible. Gulfport, same thing, 5.5 inches of rain. I mean, a lot of rain is going to fall in these areas, so go on and be ready for that. The north central U.S. will continue to get this energy that moves in from this cold front that's moving in. So we'll get some showers this morning until about midday across the UP of Michigan, lingering all the way into this afternoon. Some of these showers will make it into Green Bay later this afternoon. Could get some sprinkles, some showers all the way down to Iowa. But we'll just get kind of a showery type day across the UP and Wisconsin eventually as we're getting into this evening. This will make it all the way down to lower Michigan. And then cooler air will usher in behind this. And, it's wild. A little bit of almost a lake effect moisture off Lake Superior as that cool air rushes over the, warmer than the surrounding air temperature waters of Lake Superior. So we'll actually get some lake effect rain, it looks like, across areas of the UP of Michigan from Lake Superior. I think it'll be enhanced off that, but not purely driven off that. So, we move out west, nothing to speak on. Big time ridge dominating the western states, hot temperatures. Really the only area to watch is that area in New Mexico, and we've already spoke on that. Elsewhere, it's just calm weather. It's hot though. Temperatures today, it's warming up ahead of this boundary. So 80s and 90s across the Midwest, the Mississippi Valley. But don't worry, it's not gonna be around very long. So if you're a big warm weather fan, go out there and enjoy it today because a big cool down's on the way. Nice day in the northeast all the way down to the southeast where some cooler areas hanging around some drier air. Hot and very humid down here in Florida. But you can see that cooler air coming down with this frontal boundary. Highs could drop in certain areas throughout the day. But it's hot out west. I mean, the valley areas between the Cascades and the Sierra Nevada and the mountain range. I mean, we'll get well into the 90s and 100s. Desert Southwest, 110s. Somebody might hit 120 today. So it's hot out west for sure. So, folks, that's all I got. You guys have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tomorrow morning. God bless all y'all, and talk to you soon.